Hello there, everybody. Everybody, anybody, somebody. Do I have any viewers? Do we have people staring at this test card that I'm holding up in front of the camera? Just like in the good old days of UHF, VHF television, when the television station would go off the air, and they would just have this test card that they would broadcast sometimes for hours and hours and hours until the station signed back on again. I know that's a real generation gap thing, but I'm throwing it at ya because this is my job, indeed, to keep alive the spirit of cable TV, also local UHF channel television. So, yeah, we've got the test card on front of the camera. And I'm just going to take a big old chance and drop it and reveal myself, I being Malcolm Tent. And this being this week's episode of Tent Talks Tunes. Coming at ya, all the way alive under a cloudy gray sky here in the greater environs of Danbury, Connecticut. Reach over the monitor and press the start button and make sure that we're on live. Mike Lesser says that we are here. Toasting my return with some delicious Vancouver tap water. Well, Mike knows me well because I've always got my handy jug of Danbury tap water. Thanks to Pissy Chrissy for labeling it so clearly. Let us drink our respective taps to our respective communities and the fact that we are here united by Tent Talks Tunes. Ah, the pause that refreshes. I just love that sentiment. Robbie Rob is on board. Hello, Robbie Rob. Indeed, what's up? I'm going to tell you what's up in a minute or two. Eric Johnson is on board. Hello, everybody. And others who are as yet unidentified. Good to be back. It's been almost exactly a month since I last did Tent Talks Tunes. I've been the veritable road warrior, going all up and down the eastern seaboard in a touring van with Profanatica. Rocking and rolling, reeling and stealing, kicking ass and taking names in environs all the way from South Florida to Quebec City, Quebec. And what fun it was. Brian Russell, hello, welcome aboard. How's Roanoke, Virginia treating you? Yeah, man, we were sweating it out in the 90 degree Florida heat, and then we were freezing to death in the single-digit sub-zero nose-hair freezing cold of Quebec City. We experienced everything there was to experience on this run, including the playing of much great music, the camaraderie of not one but two excellent bands who are on the road with us, Tombs from New Jersey, and Nunslaughter from Cleveland, Ohio. Two excellent bands. And they made us work extra hard because if you're going to go on stage after Tombs and go on stage after Nunslaughter, you've got to be good. And I would dare polish my laurels a little bit and say that we delivered the goods. I think it was a strong bill from start to finish. And yeah, certain towns in particular really stood out. Quebec City, actually, being one of them. Ottawa being another one. And while we're at it, how about Montreal? There's something about the Canadian metalheads. They really, really, really go off. And the last two shows in Boston and New York City were just like the best possible way to end a run. Good big crowds, all of them losing their minds when we played. And doing the same for Nunslaughter and Tombs. You know, when you've got three bands on a bill and the crowd's going nuts for every single one of them, that's a good show. You know, it wasn't like a lot of shows where the opener is on and people use that opportunity to show up late or go to the bar and get a drink or chat with their friends or look at their cell phones. Nope. From the minute that Tombs hit the stage until the minute that we vacated the stage, the audiences were all there for all three bands, and it was really, really cool, because I think that any one of us could go out and headline, and when you have three bands of that caliber on one bill, and people paying attention and getting into it the whole time, Socceroonie. Excellent stuff. Sean Mosher is here. Hello, what's up, man? Robbie Rob has a question. How's PP Duvet doing? PP Duvet is doing just fine, thank you. I was actually on the phone with him not too long ago, and we've got some plans. We got some plans, Mr. PP Duvet and I. We got some plans. I'm not going to reveal any details, but the name Dino Sex was brought up during the delicate negotiations that he and I were engaged in. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. There's also an executive decision that does relate to PP Duvet, but I was talking to Paul Ledney of Profanatica and also of the Bloody Apostles about the Bloody Apostles, and PP Duvet, of course, is the lead singer of the Bloody Apostles, and for the longest time, I've been wanting to release the Bloody Apostles demos on cassette and or CD, and never really got around to it, but, you know, you have a lot of time when you're sitting in a van on those long drives, and Paul Ledney and I discussed it, and I think it's time that the Bloody Apostles demos come out. What do you guys think? All you They Hate Us and Murder Junkies and Profanatica and anti-scene fans out there, what do you think about it? The Bloody Apostles, the Murder Junkies, Profanatica, anti-scene, They Hate Us supergroup. Me on bass, PP Duvet on vocals, Paul Ledney on drums. This is the original trio before we got Brian Zickafoose on guitar. And Brian Zickafoose is a heck of a guitar player. But before we had him, I did all the guitar parts myself. And tried to create these sort of like symphonic, multi-layered guitar parts that I thought came out really good. Very different from the 7-inch single that we released on Hell's Headbangers. So the demos and the finished record are actually two pretty different animals. And, yeah, we agreed that it should happen. So I think it is going to happen before this year is up. The Bloody Apostles demos on cassette and CD, with the outside possibility of some live tracks. We only played 2 shows, but in my traditional, typical fashion, I recorded both of them. And I think at the second show especially, there were some pretty good performances. So I wouldn't exactly put that on the table as a surefire thing, but it's conceivable. You know, I like to give value for money when I release something on my fabulous label, TPOS. So keep an eye on that. That's going to be coming up. Robbie Rob says he would like to see some Bloody Apostles demos. Sean Mosher says, just do it. Okay. Okay, Sean. You say it. I believe it. Let's do it. Here's something else that's been in the pipeline for a long time that I've been hemming and hawing about and thinking about a lot. But I'm going to do this after lots and lots of deliberation, and I'm hoping to do it before I begin the next round of concert activity with the almighty anti-scene. Yes, I just got off the road with Profanatica. Going to take a few weeks to catch my breath, and then go back out on the road with the almighty anti-scene. We're playing shows in Pennsylvania and Ohio, baby. April 4th. At the Underground Arts in Philadelphia. It's us on the Eat the Turnbuckle Bloodbath Extravaganza. That's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's going to be complete effing mayhem from stem to stern, port to starboard, floor to ceiling. Be prepared. We are very happy to be on that bill, along with Fang, Ringworm, and Ground. Man, that's a lot of rock and roll action. So then we're going to take the remnants of, well, I shouldn't say that, because the remnants of the audience are going to be left behind to be scraped into a bucket. We are going to stand tall and proud and advance to the next city and state on the itinerary, which is the West Side Bowl in Youngstown, Ohio, where Anti-Scene will be parking the death train for a night. And from Youngstown, Ohio, we're going to the wonderful town of York, Pennsylvania, playing the Skid Row Garage, excuse me, on April 6th. April 4th, April 5th, April 6th, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Youngstown, Ohio, York, Pennsylvania. All you damn Yankees out there who never get much of a chance to see Anti-Scene, you've got 1, 2, 3 chances to see Anti-Scene in Pennsylvania and Ohio in April. Check all your usual internet resources for further details on those gigs. So you've been forewarned, I'm going to be out of town that week, but that's not for a little while. So between now and then, I really intend to do a special edition of Tent Talks Tunes, one that I've been thinking about for a long time. And this is a topic and a subject that does bear a lot of thought and a lot of consideration because it's a big, heavy subject. One subject that might take me longer than an hour to tackle. But I think I finally have everything together that I need in order to address the topic. What might the topic be, you could ask? What is so hardcore, heavy-duty, and weighty that I would need to mull over so thoroughly its presentation on Tent Talks Tunes? Well, the clue is on this cassette here that I made of some spoken word notes on the subject. This probably doesn't mean very much to you, my chicken scratch and my weird abbreviations. Malcolm Tent, G.G. Allen, Psych Spec, dated between December 6th, 2020 and July something or other of 2021. That's how long ago I started thinking about this particular subject, as long ago as December of 2020. G.G. Allen, Psych Spec. What does that mean in plain English? It means G.G. Allen, psychological speculation. Yep, I'm going to devote an entire episode of Tent Talks Tunes to one man's at least semi-educated psychological analysis of G.G. Allen. I'm going to do it. I'm going to totally do it. And the reason why I'm doing this is because, you know, I'm like a lot of you guys out there. I spend a lot of time on the internet looking at stuff. And I've come across a few YouTube psychologists who have given their psychological evaluations of G.G. Allen. And it's like, okay, they're professional psychologists or whatever they are. And their analyses are pretty decent considering that the only thing that they've gone on is the, you know, Wikipedia entry or a lot of the standard mythology. My intention, even though I am not even remotely trained as a psychologist or a psychiatrist, is to use some really deep inside information and my own personal interest in psychology and the field thereof to make some educated guesswork and educated analysis as to what made the man tick. It is a fascinating subject. I've been a G.G. Allen fan ever since 1987. And the story is so deep and so multi-layered and so multifaceted. I'm really not aware of anybody who's ever really tackled it until now using the right resources. And when I say the right resources, I'm not saying, well, you know, I'm a smarter guy than anybody else, or I'm certainly not trained, but my advantage is that I've known and met and had really good long conversations, and I'm actually friends with a lot of people who really did know Gigi, who really did spend quality time with him, who played in bands with him, who did hang out with him, who knew him. And by talking to all these people over a long period of time, I've been able to put pieces together and see common threads in their stories. And, you know, from my own experiences with the guy, you know, we were not bosom buddies or best friends, but we had a friendly working relationship. And, you know, we hung out a couple of times, talked on the phone a lot. I noticed things, and it's just really amazing how consistently a person's behavior can be, and what I think that reveals about the person. So I'm going to get all of my thoughts together and all of my materials together, hopefully over the coming weeks, and put it out in front of you guys. And my intention in doing that is not to say that I have just provided the definitive narrative of G.G. Allen's psychology, but to put that out there and let the debate and the discussion rage, which will hopefully reveal more and uncover more facts and knowledge and put to rest some of the fictions and mythology about G.G. Allen and who he was and what drove him. What do you guys think? Think that'll be cool? I know it's going to be cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. And what I'm really looking forward to is seeing what happens as a result of the debate, because there are a lot of educated G.G. Allen fans out there. There are a lot of people who really take the man and his art seriously and have put forth some very interesting ideas that I've seen over the years. So I'm into that. I want that to happen. You notice at the very mention of that, Harry came in and made himself comfortable. How about it, Harry? You want to say hi to the nice people? You want everybody to see your 1.5 fangs and your 1.5 ears and those blazing yellow eyes? There he is. The one-eared wonder himself, Mr. Scene Stealer himself, Harry the Cat. That's my boy. Harry's glad to be back on Tent Talks Tunes. It's been quite a while. And he's shedding like mad. Will you look at this? Warm weather must be around the corner, because he is shedding, and the dander is flying fast and furious. Any of you guys out there who are allergic to cats, sorry. Hope you're not getting a contact itchy nose because of all this, but he's losing several pounds in hair weight even as we speak. Ugh, what a mess. So yeah, that's upcoming. That's something I'm excited about. That's something we're going to do. And by the way, Harry the Cat does have his own release on TPOS, in which Harry the Cat purrs for 45 minutes or so. I've already made 8 tracks of it. CDs and cassettes are coming. So if you can hear this, and you like the sound of that, I've got Harry the Cat purring for you in hi-fi stereo, coming sooner than later on TPOS. I've already made the 8 tracks. Cassettes and CDs are coming soon. So yeah, man, Profanatica tour was a blast. And I came home and checked my P.O. box, which I will very thoughtfully share with you right now. Malcolm Tent, P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. And found some items of interest in it. I don't know exactly what they are. These are sealed envelopes. But basically, you can bet that if it comes to my P.O. box, it's going to be interesting. So why don't we open them up together live on Tent Talks Tunes? And if you're watching this on the YouTube rerun or archived forever on my Facebook page, you're getting the same thrill of discovery that we are live here on Facebook on this Wednesday at 7-something or other p.m. It's not a whole lot here, so this should go fairly quickly. Now, I already recognize the return address on this from Saginaw, Michigan. This is from my bud Food Fortunata of Sockeye. Food, I believe, is involved in another awesome band that I only heard for the first time recently, a group called the Spastic Amoebas. And when my girl Chrissy and I were driving from one Profanatica show to another, she put on the Spastic Amoebas CD, and it rocked. It was real good. I think that's more of a Poopy Necropond project. Don't know if Food was on that, but man, great stuff. So here's a genuine handwritten note from Food Fortunata, and look at that, an envelope within an envelope, a riddle wrapped in an enigma, a mystery surrounded by a conundrum. But we can cut through all that. That's easy. We got the technology. We got the brand new pair of 1 mile scissors. Haven't put a mile on these things yet, but I'm working on it. So we open up one layer. Oh, look at that. This is better than a Russian nesting box. This is better than Christmas, New Year's Eve, Thanksgiving, the Hajj, all wrapped up into one. Inside we have a cassette. And it is, oh, look at that, a Food Fortunata solo cassette. Which, if I am to read correctly, is entitled Food Mind. Man, I'm excited to hear this already. I just know it's going to be cool because Food Fortunata is a good guy and a classy musician, and cassette is a cool format. So thank you, Food. Oh, gotta scratch my eye. I think I got some of that Harry the Cat dander in there. Wowzers. Oh, man. I shouldn't have been so wanton throwing around all that fluff. Woo. All right, here we got another one. This is another return address that I recognize, and this promises good things. You can see there a nice handwritten address. Malcolm Tent, P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut 06470. And the return address is from LaPorte City, Iowa. Now, you people who have watched Tent Talks Tunes for any period of time, or any of those of you who are fans of outsider music and completely, truly original musical artists, the name LaPorte City, Iowa can mean only one thing. Can only mean one person, can mean only one artist. An artist whose stuff I released recently on TPOS. And I did get some advance warning about this, so I think I know what's in here, but this is very exciting. Now, I didn't see any big pops or reactions when I uttered the 3 magic words, LaPorte City, Iowa. So maybe I have to refresh y'all's memory. LaPorte City, Iowa is the home of the truly one and truly only Gary Forney, who I am absolutely thrilled and delighted to have recently released 2 albums by on TPOS. One called An Ordinary Life and one called Chicken Insurrection. Both awesome. Awesome collections of Gary Forney's stuff, recorded by various song poem artists and by himself. Got it on cassette, got it on 8-track, got it on CD. And Gary Forney is a true artist in every sense of the word, and I am dead chuffed to have him on the TPOS label. So after I got those out and sent him his package of swag, he said, you know, I've been digging around a little bit, going through the archives himself, and he found, yes, some stuff that he kind of forgot he had. If I can get it out of the envelope, I'll show it to you. Oh, yes, let's see, not 1, not 2, but 3 CDs. Oops, sorry, guy. And some flying shrapnel. Oh, yeah, look at that. Okay, let me refresh the monitor here. Make sure I'm still going out live, because with the internet, with the Facebook, you never know. All right, looks like I am indeed live, and that's good. So Gary Forney, true to his word, said that he had an entire disc of more song poem stuff. And boom, there it is. And these are song titles that I don't even recognize, and I'm a Gary Forney fan. This is stuff I've never heard before. Stop That Song, Side of the Road, Gotta Turn Left Right, Country Girls, Working Man's Grave, Woman is a Problem, J. Gale Kilgore. I mean, I don't know any of these songs. Very exciting. And what's this? He sent me 3 CDs. What's this one? Okay, it's a compilation CD called Radio Jukebox that he's on. I'm pretty sure Tiny Tim is on this one as well. Another TPOS recording artist, Tiny Tim. So that's cool. And this is the Outsiders, Band from the Heartland. Okay, this is a Gary Forney project I was not aware of at all. The Outsiders consist of Gary Forney, Josh Forney, Bonnie Forney, Laura Forney, Cheryl Clapton, Bud Morris, David Fox, and Andrew McLeod. And this has a couple of songs I do recognize. Three-Eyed Boy, Poe Lazarus, Chicken Insurrection. But I don't know if these are versions that we've already had. Very intriguing. So all you Gary Forney fans out there, Iowa Mountain Tour fans, Pumpkin fans, you have something to look forward to, as do I. Because this is true creativity in action. And I have the ability to bring it to you on TPOS. Yahoo! Let's drink a big old toast to Gary Forney and his creative brood out there in Iowa. Yay! I, of course, would be remiss in my duty if I didn't point out that you can get Gary Forney and Harry the Cat and Pissy Chrissy through TPOS on Discogs, eBay, and Bandcamp. I'm back in town. I've had a couple of days to gather my wits, and I am absolutely ready to fill your mail orders. So, chop, chop. Get to it. Get with it. Get into the swim of things. All right, now this is something that's interesting right here. From Mobile, Alabama. From my main man, Dennis Highland. Dennis Highland, as you probably know if you're a Tent Talks Tunes regular, Dennis Highland is the CEO of Jackhammer Music USA. Jackhammer Music is the very fine Japanese label that has released Anti-Scene's Great Disasters brand new album on CD. They also released the Anti-Scene Before I Hang split 10-inch. And Dennis is the US rep for this label. He's got a very good habit. He sends random packages out of nowhere. I was not expecting this. I don't know what's in it. But when Dennis sends something, it's random. That's about all I can say about it. And always piquant and stimulating. It's got a very strange feel to it. It's not quite hard, not quite soft, not quite square, not quite round. Don't know really what we have here. So I'm going to get out the 1 mile scissors. And we're working on mile number 2, just an inch at a time here, by cutting open these packages. Let's see what Dennis Highland has sent me. Now, you might remember on various Tent Talks tunes in the past, I've done thrift shop in a box. I've done yard sale in a box, in which people have mailed me boxes of just completely unknown random stuff. And I've done the live unboxing. Dennis has done that on a couple of occasions. So I don't know if this is another thrift shop in a box or if it's some exciting Jackhammer stuff. Let's find out. We are opening the package. This is live. This is blind. Here's a handwritten note. A handwritten, computer-typed hybrid note. The definitive all-killer, no-filler collection of the amazing Tak Yathra's work, culled from his wildly fun and original thematic albums that center around Asian folklore and horror. He's from Singapore, and he explores the mythology and creatures of Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and the Philippines. You'll hear traces of Merciful Fate, Sepultura, and traditional melodies of indigenous tropical folk pop and the chaos of Faxed Head. Dude, you're selling me, man. You're selling me. Let's take a look at this, shall we? Very carefully wrapped. Limited edition of 200. Boy, I think you fans of the bizarre and unusual are going to like this. I already know I'm predisposed to like it. Oh, he sent me a few of them. Whoa, look at this guy. Tak Yathra. The Black and Roll Anthology. According to Trey Spruance, what a strange and amazing, quote, metal band, unquote. All right, I'm intrigued. This just might be, if there is such a thing as good world music being a genre that I generally find to be repulsive, saccharine, sugar-coated, and disgusting. If there is such a thing as good world music, I think this is probably it. This is probably it. So thank you, Dennis Highland. You better believe I'm going to be playing this. Excuse me. And since I got 4 copies, I guess I might be distributing some of these too to interested people. If you can't get it from Jackhammer Music, maybe y'all want to hit me up. And I'll tell you exactly what it sounds like in due time. Thank you, Dennis. Dennis, you are a gentleman, a scholar, and a label mogul. And man, I've got so much hairy dander in my eye right now. It's tragic. It is an absolute tragedy. Serves me right for pulling it out of his coat and throwing it around, which I just did, which is going to make the situation worse. Man, life is full of irony, isn't it? Got a message from my man Moose Roberts in Bristol, Tennessee. Says he's got a show at the Cascade on the 16th. Cool. Gonna minimize you though, dude, because I can't see what lurks behind your message. Let's minimize this. Yeah, everybody is, yeah, Moose Roberts, where's this Cascade place that you're playing on the 16th? Tell the people. Let them know, because I like Moose Roberts. I like his stuff. He rocks hard. He's got the right idea. He's aesthetically pleasing. He runs a really cool radio show. Post some links, Moose. Educate these folks. Get them on the beam, why don't ya? All right. That's basically the mail. I want to do a little show and tell, some stuff I picked up on tour. You know, when I go out as a solo, Harry, people don't want to see your tail in my face. You need to get it going. All right, or reposition yourself. Do something, guy. Stealing the scenes yet again. What a hog. What a little love guy. When I go on tour as a solo, or if I'm in transit between here and North Carolina or any other points, I love to hit all the record stores in my way. On the Profanatica tour, I was not really able to do that because we're in a van. You know, we have to, you know, make load-in times and sound check times and all that. So leisure time is really at a premium. But on a couple of occasions, I did have the chance to hit a couple of record stores. The last stop in particular, in Brooklyn, we were just down the block from the great Rebel Rouser Records, run by my main guy, Josh Stiles from Daddy Longlegs. And those guys have a definite, shall we say, to use the modern speak, curatorial aesthetic. Their specialty is the wild shiz that I love so much. So I was browsing through the singles boxes and I came across 2 singles that I actually plunked down some cold hard cash for. And anybody who knows me knows that I don't like paying money for anything, but sometimes you gotta. Sometimes you just gotta, because you ain't gonna see this too often. How about this? I want all you musicologists out there, all you soundophiliacs out there to put on your thinking caps and tell me if you know who this is. This is a pop quiz for you. The label is Minute Records. The track is Green Door. The artist, SQ Reader. Who is SQ Reader? If you don't know, I'll give you a clue. Say it fast. SQ Reader. Killer, funky, organ-driven version of Green Door. No year on this. I think it's 1964-ish, according to 1962, actually. All right, so think about it, guys. A 1962 7-inch single by SQ Reader. I'm going to let you guys percolate on that, mull that over for a second or two. This record rocks so hard, and finding original records by this guy under any one of the several names he's recorded under, that's a hint, is a treat, especially one that's in really good condition like this. So yeah, I saw the SQ Reader record and I just had to pop for it. And I did. I'll give you a clue. There's been a lot of debate over whether SQ Reader or Little Richard did it first. Can I get an amen from somebody? Maybe if you say it real fast, man, the switchboard is silent out there. Ain't nobody even trying to guess who SQ Reader is. I said it fast. SQ Reader. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that. Found another really cool 45. This is an oddity in itself. Not only is it a Canadian pressing on the very cheesy and sleazy Shelby Singleton version of Sun Records. You don't see Canadian pressings on that label too very often. But it's by the Gentrys. This is another one of those things I would certainly hope that you people out there who are fans of really cool 60s rock and professional wrestling would know who the Gentrys are. Who are the Gentrys? No one's even tried to guess who SQ Reader is. Heather from the great state of Mississippi says it sounds like an app. Kind of does. SQ Reader. Sean Mosher was the first one to clock in with the correct guess. The Gentrys had a lead singer named Jimmy Hart, who, after he gave up his rock and roll career, became Jimmy, the Mouth of the South Hart, and went on to an absolutely classic career in professional wrestling. This was the band he was in, and I forget which side it is. It's either Why Should I Cry or I Need Love. It's just a banging late 60s fuzz guitar drenched rave up, man. Even if it wasn't Jimmy Hart, this song would kick butt. If you guys love tasty garage rock with heavy fuzz guitar, check this one out, the Gentrys. It's also a non-album track. The Gentrys did one album on the Sun label, and it's pretty good. But this B-side is better than anything on the album. And to this day, it's never been reissued. I actually wanted to reissue this on TPOS. I know that Sun Records has licensed, they'll license almost anything to anybody. And the great Norton Records label did a ton of Sun Records reissues. And I asked the people at Norton if it was easy to work with Sun. They said, yeah, it's a cinch, man. Just call them up and set up a deal. They'll license anything to you. I was like, all right, cool. So I got a hold of Sun Records, said that I wanted to license these 2 tracks by the Gentrys that had never been reissued and didn't appear on the album. And they came back with a figure that was insultingly high. It was a gouge. And, I don't like to use profanity unless I've got a strong point to make. I'm going to make it right now. It was a fucking gouge. The offer they came at me was they would press the record themselves, just a plain old 45 RPM single, just like this one, black vinyl, big hole. They would press the record and sell them to me for $8 each. Rip off city. And I'll use profanity again. Fucking rip off. And it really kind of soured me on Sun Records. The Shelby Singleton version of the label has always been a scam and a sham. And mind you, I'm just expressing opinions here, not stating facts. In my opinion, it's always been that. They're the guys who brought you Orion and the fake Jerry Lee Lewis duet records and the fake Jerry Lee Lewis, Orion, Carl Perkin trio record. They're really great at the god-awful, stupid cash-ins. And for them to, manufacture a record on their own and then wholesale it to me for $8 a throw, you know what? F you. I paid $8 for an original Canadian pressing, and that'll just have to be fine. Thank you very much. And by the way, my mentor, M. Leslie Wimmer, came in with the correct guess. Who is SQ Reader? It is Escarita. Escarita with the vintage Vula. Escarita. If you don't know Escarita, your homework is to find out about Escarita and form your own opinions as to whether Escarita or Little Richard was first. It's a controversy. Controversy is good for business. Excuse me, I'm going to leave it there. But yes, an original 45 from 1962 by the great Escarita. Those are my 2 record store scores. I also did gather a couple of souvenirs. I just love souvenirs. I love getting things when I'm on tour. I love the knickknacks and the tchotchkes. I don't care. I have no shame whatsoever, man. I'll go up on the stage and I'll grab the set lists if no one else has grabbed them. If somebody throws a gig flyer in the garbage can, I'll reach into the garbage can, and provided it's not covered in nasty, icky stuff, if it's fresh and clean, I'll take it out the garbage can and bring it home. I don't care. Backstage call sheets, I love that kind of stuff. And I actually have a big pile of paper that I collected on the Profanatica tour, which is in the other room, so I can't show it to you. But I did remember to bring copies of the new Profanatica album called Crook Simplex, which I helped create, which, yes, I did get autographed by the band, myself included. I'm that kind of a guy. This is, part of my hope chest. The 3 members of Profanatica who created this album have signed it on CD, on vinyl, if you can see that. I'm a fanboy. I don't care. I love this kind of stuff. I got everybody in the touring party to sign a poster that is going to hang proudly in my home at some point. I love that stuff. Let's hoist our jug of Danbury Tap to the real fanboy geeking out. Or fangirl, as the case may be. It's fun. Oh, my goodness. Talking about all this great stuff, man. Escarita, Jimmy Hart, Gary Forney, Pissy Chrissy. Don't know the guy's name. Tak Yathra. This has been a very, very musically exciting episode of 10 Talks Tunes. And I haven't even addressed the main topic at hand, which is going to be records that are not suffering from the curse of the sophomore jinx. Maybe you've heard of it, the sophomore jinx. A band or an artist releases a killer first album, and the second album, for whatever reason, doesn't quite measure up. These are second albums by bands that are, in my opinion, as good as or better than the debuts. And there's tons of albums that would fall into that category. I just grabbed a very short stack. And I'm going to show them, and I'm going to tell them, and I'm going to ask what you guys think about this. This is a case that I think the second album is absolutely better than the first album. And the first album ain't bad. And it's more a matter of stylistic difference. I'm not a big fan of the style of the first album by Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band. But I think their second album, Strictly Personal, this is when the tumblers all fall into place and when the sound starts to click. This is like the perfect hybrid of the sound of the original desert-based blues band that made the first album and the completely outside indescribable weirdos who made Trout Mask Replica, which was the third album. Very definite line of trajectory between Safe as Milk, the first album, Strictly Personal, the second album, and Trout Mask Replica, the third record. This is the album for a lot of people that I will play if they are interested in Captain Beefheart and have never heard him before. I'll either play this one or Dock at the Radar Station, because it's sort of like a kinder, gentler way to get people into the truly indescribable sounds of Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band. This has got a lot of the elements that would really come into play later. The completely atonal, polyrhythmic, dense, impenetrable sounds that you would hear on Trout Mask and Lick My Decals Off Baby and Ice Cream for Crow. But they're not always, those sounds are not all the way to the fore. They're very palatable, and there's still a lot of heavy blues-based playing and writing on this. Really, really great album. And it also has, I think, probably the single greatest band portrait on an inner gatefold sleeve ever taken. Is that in the frame? Yeah. I've had a version of this photo hanging on my wall ever since I lived in Florida. I had it hanging in my bedroom when I lived in Florida at my mom's house. I had it hanging on the office wall of my office at Trash American style. And up until I started doing some renovating, I had it hanging here in my home. What an incredible band photo that is. Love it. Just love it. A perfect package. So this is an absolute case of where the Sophomore album was a big step forward from the debut album. And for all of those of you who are fans and aficionados of different pressings, I think I might have showed this one once before, but this is the original, earlier pressing on the black blue thumb label. The most common version has a tan label, but this is the black one. And I found out recently that this is not a full-fledged first pressing. You can see by the grooves that there is no song separation. It's just like one solid track from start to finish. Apparently, original first pressings have song separation. There's bands between the songs. And also, supposedly, the first pressing has far superior sound quality to later pressings. Because as much as I love this album, you can't deny that the sound quality on this thing is not exactly hi-fi. And no one's ever offered an explanation for it. But it's not exactly lo-fi, but it sure as heck ain't hi-fi. Don't know why that is. In a way, that's part of its appeal. But I did pick up a CD reissue of it that came out in the 90s that is full-blown hi-fi stereo, and it really is a whole different animal from these early vinyl pressings of it. You really can't go wrong either way. Great album. Does not suffer from any sophomore jinx at all. We got some comments here. Yes, this is a true fact by Gary Childs. Gary Childs. The first helmet on the inner sleeve, I think it's the one all the way on the left, was later used in an episode of Mork and Mindy. True fact. You can't even make this stuff up. Because the story I read was that this was taken at a Hollywood prop house where they just rated all the various movie props that were on store. And this one right here was used in an episode of Mork and Mindy. And somewhere in my archive, I have saved a copy of a photo taken from that episode, where you can see, I think, Mork himself wearing that very helmet. How bizarre and cool is that? Where there's Beefheart, there's Zappa. So you know what's coming next. Those two guys who went to high school together in Cucamonga, California-ish. I think it was Antelope Valley High School they were alum of. And each one ended up doing their own musical thing to the max. Well, we all know Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, their debut album, Freak Out. Man, it's a good one. It's a real good one. Absolutely free. Maybe better. Maybe better. This, kind of like Strictly Personal, might be my favorite Zappa album of all time. That includes Mothers, solo stuff, Hot Rats, Grand Wazoo, whatever you want to throw out to the public under the name of Frank Zappa. I love this album from start to finish. This is where you started seeing his cut-up technique, his collage technique, in which he would edit seemingly unrelated pieces of music together to make a seamless whole. And it's so good. The satire, the lyrics, the music. And he actually designed the cover. This is Frank Zappa original cover art, which I don't think he did ever again. I don't know if he did, Pretty cool gatefold. Original Mothers in full effect with the auxiliary players. Great album. And it's really funny because the album that came after this, We're Only in It for the Money, I think that side one of that album is the most perfect body of music that Frank Zappa ever did. But side 2 is kind of lackluster. This one is killer from start to finish. Man, this album rules. And, you know, Freak Out, I would give higher marks if the production and mastering were better on it. I've never heard an officially released version of that album that wasn't very thin and tinny sounding. Somebody actually posted a YouTube version of Freak Out from an unreleased master tape that sounds fantastic. I mean, it is full-blown hi-fi stereo with all the lows where they should be and all the highs. Why they never released that one, I don't know. And they might still yet, knowing the way the Zappa Family Trust, which is now owned by some giant corporation. I'm sure somewhere down the line they'll milk it for all they can, but as of now, it still hasn't come out officially. You might want to look that up, the on YouTube, the Freak Out unreleased master. It's like night and day. I made a CD of it myself to listen to while I drive around in my car. It is so good. Oh, it's so good. Sean Mosher says, all Zappa albums are good. Dale Elmore says, Joe's Garage. Joe's Garage, great. Volume 1 especially. Really cool stuff. That was actually the first Zappa record I ever owned. I got it from the Columbia House Record Club sometime around 1981. And gave it a good play. Played that record a lot. Real good stuff. All right. So depending on whether you were in the US of A or the UK in the magic year of 1980, you got the second album by these guys that either looked like this or looked like this. Being a teenager in Hialeah, Florida, of course, when the second album by Public Image Limited came out, it looked like this. I had only read about the fabled metal box. There were copies around in South Florida, but even at that time, I think, excuse me, I think they cost $25.99 each, and that was expensive. And the very few copies I ever saw were like really shop worn and rusty. Like even this one, it's got fingerprints all over it. That's why I don't want to take it out of the bag. I'll hold it by the edges. One of the big problems with the metal box is that the ones that didn't rust out were like permanently stained by fingerprints. I don't know why it is, but the oils on people's fingers totally stain the exterior of this box. So I really try hard not to handle it. This had the fingerprint marks all over it when I first got it. I only ever opened it once, just to make sure everything was in it, because I didn't want to stain the box anymore. But oh my God. Metal box, aka second edition by Public Image Limited. The first Public Image Limited record it's okay. It's got some real ragers on it. The version of Annalisa on there, mind-blowing. And of course the title track, Public Image, great. Theme, the opening track on side 1, kind of half-baked compared to some of the live versions out there. Same thing with the spoken version of Religion. You know, it's good, but it's nothing to really write home about. This, my friends, this is the one to write home about. The second album blows the first album completely out of the water. Yes. And I actually prefer this version because this is the one that I, was able to get my hands on first at what was still the high price of $10.99 back in 1980. $10.99 was a lot more expensive than your average record because it's a double album. But the way this record is sequenced is the way that I listen to it and I remember it. The metal box has the songs in a different order, which I don't think is as effective as the way this album has its running order sequenced. This is the go-to for me. And I just love those original island record labels. The kind of like hazy, dreary sort of black and blue, sort of blue and white. It just, those labels, especially the darker one, just really fit the mood of this album perfectly. Especially being in a place like sunny, runny South Florida. I could put this record on any time. The first Public Image record, can't put that one anytime. I'll usually put on Annalisa and crank it pretty loud, and that'll do me for the whole album. This is one that you just got to play from start to finish. Oh, yeah. Now, keeping in mind that I could go on and on and on with albums that are not sophomore jinxes, but I ain't gonna, because I'm running out of time here. You know, it is not Tent Talks Tunes unless there's at least some passing mention of Devo. Devo's going to come up, guys, because we're all Devo, and I think I'm very much in touch with my inner devolved self. The second Devo album. I will not go so far as to say that it's better than the first Devo album, which is, of course, was Are We Not Men, We Are Devo, which is a definitive statement. But Duty Now for the Future, every inch as good as Are We Not Men. Every bit as good. And this album has always been kind of perceived as not being as good, and I think that's completely wrong. I mean, every song on this album, except for 4, was written at the same time as the songs on Are We Not Men. The first 2 albums were culled from the exact same pool of songs. And Devo actually had mapped out their first 2 albums before the first one even came out. And you can see, I'm sure they're posted somewhere, but there exist handwritten notes written by Jerry Casale about what the first 2 Devo albums were going to be. And they all draw from the same pool of songs that are on these first 2 albums. Album's great. I think the reason why it was considered to be an underperformer was because there were huge expectations for the first Devo album. The label really thought that it was going to go platinum and sell huge numbers. There was a huge hype about it. There was a lot of talk, and buzz about the tour. And the album just didn't sell in the huge quantities that everybody expected it to. And as a result, interest in Devo kind of petered out. And so the second album was released pretty much without any fanfare. They just kind of threw it out there on the market. And it didn't sell quite as well as the first one. And there wasn't the same buzz about the tour. And they weren't on Saturday Night Live and all that. So it just didn't have the, shall we say, the sexiness of the first album. But musically, it is every bit as good as the first one. Maybe not better, but certainly as good. And I kind of think that maybe if the production on it had been a little more robust, that might have put it over the top. And I'm also very fond of the UK cover. I like to think that if it had come out in the US with this extremely stark, beautifully effective cover art that they enjoyed in Europe, maybe that would have done it. I don't know. This one has a lot of impact, a lot of kapow. Whereas this one, which is a fine album cover, it looks kind of cluttered and indistinct. You know what I mean? You be the judge. Either way, Duty Now for the Future by Devo does not suffer from the sophomore jinx. So I gently and lovingly put it back in its plastic protector. I could go on and on and on, but I'm not gonna. I've been here for an hour already, and you guys have stuck with me, and that is awesome. I thank you guys for tuning in. It's great to be back in the saddle. I love doing Tent Talks Tunes. I'll be checking out your comments later after I sign off. I'm going to post this episode on my YouTube channel right now, so you guys can check it out at your leisure. And of course, it will be archived on Facebook forever and ever and ever. So to bring you up to date on current events, we got Anti-Scene playing in Philadelphia, Youngstown, Ohio, and York, Pennsylvania. That's April 4th, 5th, and 6th. Very important. You don't want to miss it. My Discogs, eBay, and Bandcamp stores are back up and running again now that I'm in town. I have great artists. G.G. Allen, Suicide Rehearsals, now out on 8-track. Available on professionally made CDR and cassette. Now on 8-track. Vinyl eventually. My Noise project, Fried Man. This is called Advisory 1620. It's out on 8-track and reel-to-reel tape. My specially sculpted noise soundscapes. Some funny, some creepy, none normal. This will be coming out on cassette and CD soon. On Jackhammer Music. Gonna get it right. Tak Yatra. I haven't heard it yet, but I'm dying to check it out. Traditional Malaysian, Indonesian folk music crossed with metal? Why not? Pissy Chrissy. Lyrics and vocals by Pissy Chrissy. Music by me on TPOS. And, of course, last but in no way, shape, or form least, the great Gary Forney from LaPorte City, Iowa. 2 different albums on cassette, CD, and 8-track. I got them. You want them. And coming soon, one man's amateur armchair psychological evaluation of Mr. G.G. Allen himself. I don't promise academic perfection, but I do believe I could throw out some very interesting insights and analysis to the man more than the myth. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, everybody. I do hope and expect to be back in about 167 hours' time. So until we meet again, this is indeed Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Nutmeg State.